Have you on the SABC News Desk.
It's great to be here. Thank you very much.
There was such a great deal of expectation on South Africa to be a vociferous leader in the human rights arena in terms of its foreign policy. How are we doing in meeting that expectation? Are we meeting it adequately when it comes to our treatment of migrants and asylum seekers and refugees for that matter right now?
So I think there are pros and cons in that regard. Obviously, the negatives have been this last year we've seen a lot of xenophobic violence, and some of which might have been sparked by some of the rhetoric from our political leaders or municipal leaders. But on the whole, though, South Africa is still a preferred destination for most people who are fleeing asylum, because we do have such stringent laws and such good protections within our constitution, and we have the systems to allow asylum seekers into the country. So it is a pro and con situation. All
right. When it comes to that asylum system, we do have some of the most progressive asylum laws in the world. We don't have any refugee camps, and once migrants are here, they can apply for asylum and live and work where they please. But is our asylum system right now, Wayne, meeting its legal mandate to provide the protection needed to all our migrants and asylum seekers?
Well, the simple answer is no. We have had about 6 refugee reception offices which provide these services all around the country. And when asylum seekers come, the communities are spread throughout the country, like you said, because there is free movement and people have to be able to sustain themselves and find work where they can. What we've seen over the last few years is a lot of these reception offices have been shut down. The office in Port Elizabeth, the office here in Johannesburg was completely shut down. Office in Port Elizabeth and Cape Town are not fully operational. And so what that means is that there's a great strain at the moment for the reception office in Pretoria. And because you have all these migrants traveling from long distances to receive services in this one particular office, it becomes difficult to be able to serve all these people. So we find a lot of people coming to our offices specifically because we offer legal service to asylum seekers and other pro bono officers, and a lot of them are not receiving the adequate services that they should be in terms of
all right, so there's a backlog in our asylum system, but there are still many people in the system who are not refugees but migrants who want to come to the country perhaps for business interests.
Well, there are migrants. The problem with not just South Africa but a lot of Southern Africa is that we don't have low skilled labor permits in all the different immigration systems, and yet we still have a lot of mixed migration, and there has been for the last 1,000 years. And now, because our immigration laws throughout Southern Africa do not cater for these lower skilled workers, a lot of them end up seeking refuge in the asylum system to regularize themselves here. We are very lucky that the Ministry of Home Affairs have embarked on providing dispensation permits to some of our neighboring countries like Lesotho and Zimbabwe. But until we have a regional immigration system which caters for the low-skilled labor, because a lot of our economies run on foreign labor, particularly in our mining sectors and other low-skilled jobs, it burdens the asylum system.
Yes. Wayne, I just need you to talk us through the process of gaining or receiving refugee status in South Africa now. It seems simple enough on paper, but it's reported by many individuals that it's being riddled with administrative problems. I just want to get a sense of how difficult it is to gain that refugee status in the country right now once you cross the border.
Yes. So, as I mentioned before, the biggest problem is that there are only practically 2 functional, fully operational refugee offices in the country. There's also Durban, but it's mainly Messina and Pretoria.
Yes.
And you have thousands of refugees who queue on very specific days to receive services in these areas, and the vast majority just do not get access. Those who do get access then have to wait through as you say, the administrative burden of those decisions coming out. And we have clients who've been waiting 12 years for their asylum decisions. And part of the problem there is there's such a big backlog at adjudication bodies like the Refugee Appeal Board. And currently the Appeal Board does not even have a chairperson, which means they're not conducting any hearings, which means that backlog is likely to become even greater. So there are very big practical challenges to the system.
One of the challenges facing migrants and asylum seekers in South Africa right now is the spate of xenophobic violence that we had last year. What are some of the key factors that have to be considered when it comes to successful reintegration of such victims? Because in some areas we've had successful integration, while in others we just see renewed flare-ups every now and again.
Yes, so I think the strongest thing here is really about your state and your government response to integration policies. I think it's worth commending the Minister of Home Affairs, Malusi Gigaba, in terms of trying to echo a sentiment of
social cohesion.
Social cohesion, and that was very positive. But then when you go to the local communities, it really depends on the leadership in the specific communities. Some municipalities and communities, the local leaders are very encouraging to migrants, foreign nationals. Others echo the theme that you see throughout the world in populist politics now, where people run on tickets of being xenophobic and anti-migrant to rally up political support by othering, by presenting a target for people's frustrations, which is very unfortunate and is very dangerous and leads to a violation of people's lives. So I think really what we need is a coherent, coordinated voice throughout government and all the way through to municipal level to ensure that these integration plans are successful.
Thank you, Wayne, for your time on the SABC News Desk. It's always a pleasure having you on the desk to share those insights with us. Moving